What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Today, your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content continues with the Wizard. That's right, the Master of the Arcane, Lord of Haste and Hold Person. Lord of Haste and Hold Person in Pathfinder 1st Edition is back, and we've got it right here. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Helps out a lot. Real quick, this episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content was brought to you in part by Lord Menant. My friend, thank you so much for your support, and hey guys, if you want to help the channel out, Patreon's in the description. For now, let's dive in. Alright, so in Pathfinder 1st Edition, the Wizard was one of the most powerful classes. Though, personally, I have never played a Wizard. I always preferred the Sorcerer for the aspect of I am able to cast my spells because I have a great inborn power and not because I flipped through some book or something. And from an early point in my tabletopping career, specifically D&D 3.5, I was really drawn to the Dragon Disciple Prestige class. Fun fact, Black Dragon Gaming is named after my first ever character, an elf sorcerer who prestiged Dragon Disciple. Nevertheless, the Wizard still comes out on top because in Pathfinder 1st Edition, with enough time and money, the Wizard could learn every spell, the Wizard could craft every item, and through the Wizard's power, the battlefield was controlled because that's the common consensus out there. The best caster is the caster that's Create Pit, Hold Person, Haste, summon spells to gum up the battlefield, things like that. As we look at our blog today, we note that PaizoCon is getting underway in just a few days. Unfortunately, yours truly won't be able to make it, though I really want to. But if you make it to PaizoCon and you learn any fun, interesting stuff, throw it in the comments for these videos. Help keep the conversation going, or hey, if you get some like cool pictures of art or something, we do have social media, share them, I want to see everything. But now, let's get down to business. The first thing we see is that the Wizard's key ability is the Wizard's intelligence, which is the same way it worked in Pathfinder 1st Edition. Having a high intelligence gives you a boost to the DC of your spells, and it gives you more skill choices at first level. Again, nothing new there. Now, what is new is this, quote, "At first level, you begin play with a spell book containing 10 cantrips and 8 first level spells, which is a lot more than Pathfinder 1st Edition, giving you a wide variety of spells to draw upon when you prepare your magic each morning. Starting out, you can prepare 4 cantrips and 2 first level spells each day. In addition, you select your arcane school at first level, which grants you 1 extra spell slot of each level that you can use only to prepare a spell from your chosen school. The blog compares this to the cleric who doesn't get extra spell slots, but instead gets the ability to cast extra heal or harm spells. Your school also grants you a school power that you can cast using a pool of spell points. The first power we see today is Diviner's Sight, a power you can pick up from choosing Divination as your school. Diviner's Sight has a verbal component. The range is 30 feet, and you target 1 willing living creature. The duration is end of your next turn, or until dismissed. You glimpse into the target's future. Roll a d20. When the target attempts a perception check, saving throw, or skill check, it can use the number you rolled instead of rolling, and the spell is dismissed. Casting it again dismisses any active Diviner's Sight. Now, the first thing the blog notes here is that even if you don't roll so great, it might still help avoid a critical failure on a vital saving throw, and that's very true. Remember, failing something by 10 or more, or a natural 1, indicates a critical failure in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which is obviously something we want to avoid at all costs. So even if the Wizard rolls like a 6 and it's real bad and you still fail, that's strictly better than the natural 1 that comes up on your die roll. And personally, I think the RNG is the only thing that's really quote-unquote overpowered in a tabletop role-playing game, because take it from me, it doesn't matter how well you build anything at all. If you roll bad, well, you're bad. The next thing we learn is that we can forego selecting an arcane school, instead choosing, much like in 1st Edition, to be a universalist. This grants you a bonus Wizard feat and extra uses of your arcane focus. That's really good. On the subject of the arcane focus, quote, "All wizards gain the ability to place some of their power into a designated item called an arcane focus. You can drain the power from that focus once per day to cast any one spell that you have already cast without spending another spell slot. Universalists get to use this ability once for each level of spell they can cast. Now that kind of feels like spell recall for the Magus in 1st edition, and that's really, really cool because when the wizard runs out of spells, he's nothing more than, if we look at the new artwork for Ezran, an old man with a cobra vulture stick. I have to say, Ezran looks a little evil here. I'm not gonna lie. I always kind of saw him as just the old dude who had studied a bunch of stuff and learned a bunch of things and was hanging out with all the young whippersnappers and holding person for them so the rogue could get that coup de grace. Now he looks pissed. Again, Wayne Reynolds, super wonderful artist, very well done. I cannot wait to see that in color because that is really cool. Now, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, we see that, quote, as a wizard goes up in level, they gain more spells that they can cast, either 1 extra spell of their highest level or 2 of a new level, and their proficiency at spellcasting also increases. They start as trained, but rise to the rank of legendary at 19th level. Yeah, there will be proficiencies with spellcasting, which one imagines raises your to hit for your Ray of Frost, your save for your Hideous Laughter, and everything in between. That's really cool, and you know what else is cool? Feats. Quote, wizards have never had too many class features to choose from to help distinguish them from one another. Again, this is kind of why I preferred the sorcerer. So when it came time to design feats for the wizard, it was a clear opportunity to add some variety to the class. At 1st level, we can pick up a feat that allows us to spend our reaction to counterspell any spell someone else casts as long as you currently have that spell prepared. Which isn't bad. Personally, I've never played the counterspell mage outside of like playing blue in Magic the Gathering. But as a GM, I really like having invisible wizards floating behind the big tanky anti-paladin guys who just conveniently have all the same spells memorized that the wizard has memorized that day, so they are set to counterspell. It also looks like the familiar that the wizard got will now be a class feat. Personally, I think having a second thing on the board is really strong, really flavorful, and really powerful, but I know a lot of players don't feel that way. A lot of players don't want the micromanaging, the bookkeeping, things of that nature. So I can respect the fact that now the familiar is a feat and not a mandatory bring your cat to adventure day. Every day, you can select a pair of abilities to give this loyal companion, some of which grant you boons as well. I imagine this is something along the lines of getting alertness from your familiar, or the bonus to initiative that the hare provided, things of that nature. At high levels, your familiar can even grant you an additional spell slot, as long as it is 3 levels lower than the highest level spell you can cast. Moving forward, at level 8, you can select from a series of feats that enhance the power of your arcane school, so greater illusion, improved divination, etc., increasing your pool of spell points and granting you an extra spell you can cast using that pool. Next, for all you evil guys out there, we see a necromantic power known as Life Siphon, which lets you draw some of the magic from a non-cantrip necromancy spell you cast to regain 1d8 hit points per level of the spell. Wow. Say I'm a necromancer, say I've prepped Fireball because I know I'm going to be fighting a bunch of big stuff, my minions are all dead, I've taken a bunch of damage, and all I have left is this Fireball. Assuming we cast it at 3rd level, chuck that Fireball at the bad guys, that's 3d8 hit points back. Suddenly the wizard has survivability. Yeah, sure, I'll take it. Next, we see metamagic feats. While many of these metamagic feats will be familiar to veterans of the game, allowing you to extend the reach or widen the area of a spell, for example, others are new. Conceal spell lets you add an action to a spell as you cast it to hide the fact that you are casting. Wow, okay. So now when we take the sneaky background and we worship Norgabur and we get all this stealth stuff and we're following the rogues around and we end up in some intrigue situation and we really need to cast Charm Person, now we can spend the extra action to do so without the shiny lights and the abracadabra alakazam that lets everyone know, hey, that dude just cast a spell. Anyway, moving forward, Focus Conservation is an action you can add to any spell that you cast by draining your arcane focus, and it lets you drain your arcane focus again the next round, casting another spell as long as it is 2 levels lower than the spell you just cast. You can keep using this feat as long as you have lower level spells to cast. The example they use, if you start out draining your focus to cast Cone of Cold, which is a 5th level spell that does 11d6 cold damage to all your enemies. You could follow it up next round with a Fireball. If you want to use the feat again, you could drain your focus and cast any 1st level spell you'd already cast, so that one guy that just survived the onslaught you threw out, ping him in the back of the head with a magic missile. Next we see Effortless Concentration, which gives you a free action at the start of each round to concentrate on a spell that you have cast, freeing you up to use all the 3 actions you have normally. This is probably real good for the illusionists out there that have to concentrate on their major images. Superior Focus gives you another use of your Arcane Focus. Quick Preparation lets you swap out spells you've already prepared in just 10 minutes. So basically no more agonizing that you need to rest for 8 hours to prepare that one stone shape you need to open a door. The Capstone, if Capstone we can even call it, I'm gonna call it Capstone, at 20th level is Spell Combination. If you pick this feat, you can combine 2 spells into one terrifying attack. I would be curious to know if you could combine 2 of the same spells with this as well. Because remember, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, with the new 4 degrees of success in terms of saves, the critical success, success, failure, and critical failure, things like Hold Person are no longer as powerful unless you get that critical failure, so it might be worth it at 20th level to double tap with Hold Person. In a way, it's the wizard that's become the crit fisher, except the wizard is fishing for your fumble. Anywho, let's round the blog out today with some spells. The first spell we're looking at today is a spell I accidentally talked about just a second ago, Magic Missile. It's got a range of 120 feet. Its casting is verbal or more, and it targets 1 creature. You send a dart of force streaking towards a creature that you can see. It automatically hits and deals 1d4 plus 1 force damage, so same story. When casting this spell, you can increase the casting by a material casting action, a somatic casting action, or both for each component you add. Increase the number of missiles you shoot by 1. You choose the target for each missile individually. Out the gate, a full round action is 3d4 plus 3 at some unfortunate little goblin. Not the PCs though, remember, we don't shoot Fumbus, we like him, he's a friend, I guess. Or you can spread out the pain to 3 little dudes at 1st level, which helps Magic Missile get right down to business that much faster. Heightened plus 2 indicates you shoot 1 additional missile with each action you spend. The blog also notes you can prepare Magic Missile as a 9th level spell and spend 3 actions for 15d4 plus 15. That's wonderful. Be sure you find all those d4s after you chuck them at the table. Seriously, somebody's gonna get hurt. And it's not going to be the guy you just shot all those magic missiles at. No, it's going to be that guy's player. Next up, and last up, we'll be looking at Phantasmal Killer. Its casting is somatic and verbal, so 2 actions. Its range is 120 feet and targets 1 living creature. You create a phantasmal image of the most fearsome creature imaginable to the target. Only the spell's target can see the killer, though you can see the vague shape of the illusion as it races forth to attack. The effect of the killer is based on the outcome of the target's will save. Here we see those 4 degrees of success. On a success, the target is frightened 1. A critical success, the target is unaffected. On a failure, the target takes 8d6 mental damage and is frightened 2. On a critical failure, the target is so afraid that it might instantly die. It must attempt a fort save. If the target fails, it is reduced to 0 hit points and dies. If it succeeds that save, the target still takes 12d6 mental damage, is fleeing until the end of its next turn, and is frightened 4. Heighten it plus 1, the damage on the failure goes up by 2d6, and on a critical failure by 3d6. Oh, by the way, this spell is spell level 4. Quote, this spell is perfect for removing a lower level foe from a fight, but it has the chance of greatly hampering a higher level foe as well. The frightened condition reduces by 1 each turn, but it applies a penalty to almost all of your checks and rolls until it does. A couple new spells that they tease for us, Grim Tendril and Chromatic Wall, are among a lot of new spells for us to explore. Now, it's a well-known fact that I prefer to cast Greatsword. However, I'm pretty stoked, and if nothing else, I'll just drift over to a sorcerer multi-class paladin, have a bunch of cool saves, a big charisma based. It'll be great. What do you guys think about the wizard? Is this your favorite class? Are you excited to play them in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? And what spells do you think Paizo needs to make sure come back, or maybe need a little bit of a retool in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Hey, on the subject of 2nd Edition, don't forget that 6 lucky subscribers will be playing Doomsday Dawn, the Pathfinder 2nd Edition playtest adventure, right here on Black Dragon Gaming as soon as we get our hands on the PDF in August. If you'd like to learn more about that giveaway, follow this card right up here, and remember that patronage at any tier gets you an extra entry in the giveaway. And hey, you know, if we can get our Patreon up about $100 more, I'll run another group of 6 through. But that's all we got today. Again, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content drops this Saturday.